What's up, everybody? It's your girl Rondell, aka Daily Dell, and I am back today with another video. But today is different, y'all. Today is my very first story time video. So because of that, show me some love. Hit that like button. Matter of fact, give me 2 likes. Okay, give me 2 thumbs up. Like it on your phone, and then go on your tablet or your laptop and like it again. All right. But if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss any future uploads to me, because I'm gonna be uploading every Friday between 12 and 3 p.m. So you don't want to miss that. Also, don't forget to comment and share it. All right. So if you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook, you probably don't know that I've recently relocated to Atlanta, Georgia. My family and I have relocated from the DMV area, most recently Central Virginia. And if you're not following me, hit me up on Instagram. I'm lit over there. It's daily_Dell. Facebook is Daily Dell, one word, and it will all be in the description box. But before we get into the story time, get comfortable, y'all, because this story, it's gonna be interesting. So get yourself a drink. I got some water right next to me in case I need it, and let's get into this video. Alright guys, so let's get into this story. I can't promise you it's going to be short. You guys know your girl could be long-winded, but this story is interesting to say the least. So get comfortable, like I said. So I really have to start at around 2009 for the whole background of the story to make sense. So October 2009, my family and I lost my childhood home in Maryland. For those of you who are familiar with PG County, we used to live in Lanham, Maryland, Glen Estates, whoop whoop, PG County people. But we lost that home, unfortunately, due to foreclosure. And for those of you who are old enough, you might remember like the faulty mortgages and all that were given out in the early 2000s. My family fell victim to that. So that started about basically this 10-year journey of us going through hills and valleys, a little bit more valley experiences than hills, I have to be honest, you know. And so after we lost a home, we ended up living in DC for a little bit, and then we moved back to Maryland, and then eventually moved back to Virginia. But within that 10-year time frame, like I said, there's been a lot of valley experiences. So like my dad, for instance, got really sick, almost died. I became a mother within that 10-year time frame, a single mother, and that will be another story time about how that all happened. But that became something. My mom had a stroke, you know, I was engaged and that fell apart, and it was just a lot of different things happening. But needless to say, fast forward to fall of 2018. My family and I, at this point, it's my mom, my sister, my son, and I in the house. My dad is in South America with my family because we couldn't afford to keep him here anymore. My brother lives in Maryland with his girlfriend. We decided to move to Central Virginia, a little town called Spotsylvania. It's north of Richmond, for those of you familiar with the VA area, Central Virginia area. We decided to move there because we were looking to buy a house, my sister and I, and we were like, well, let's move out here because we want to get familiarized with the neighborhood. And at the time, her identity had been compromised, and she actually had to go and like file a police report and all that. I think this was around the same time as the Experian. I think it was Experian or Equifax where they had that big breach. So because of that, we were like, okay, we're clearly not going to be able to buy the home right now, but let's move out here and see if we still like the community to buy. Because once you buy, like, you're pretty much stuck, you know, in that neighborhood. So you want to make sure you like it. So we moved out there, we found a place. Even that whole journey of finding a place was really tumultuous because within this 10-year period, with all these things happening, you know, our credit got compromised because of medical bills, trying to keep up with just everyday life, health, all sorts of stuff. So our credit had definitely like went up and down, up and down, up and down. But at this point, it wasn't the highest it had ever been. It wasn't the lowest either, but it wasn't that great. And so just the process of moving to Central Virginia was very sticky. We had some like pitfalls, and the realtor we were working with at the time, he wasn't really like the type to just get it done. You know, some people, they take their job seriously to the point where it's like, we're going to get it done by any means necessary. We're going to get you in a house, you know, or a place. But our realtor, really, really sweet guy, but just super like laid back, and it just was not working out. And so the home that we had applied to ended up denying us, and not really denying us, but just saying like they wanted double the money down. And at the time, we were like, no, that's not going to work. So the place we ended up finding was perfect for us for a year, and then we were like, we'll just see how it goes. But then shortly thereafter, after moving into that place, my vehicle started giving out. I had a Volkswagen Routan 2011. terrible van. I absolutely hate that van. I would not suggest that to my worst enemy, okay? That van was giving me so many problems, and I freelance for a living. So most of my money is earned by having access to a vehicle so I can go out to different jobs or do my Lyft or my DoorDash or whatever. And so that was definitely slowing my money up, and it was taking a lot of money out of me to just keep the vehicle running. At the time, our old church that helped us move out there, that we used to attend when we lived in Northern Virginia, they helped us with one of the payments of the van to get it fixed, and then it still was just like going out in just a hot mess. So with all of this happening, it was really affecting us because we're like, okay, we just had to put out all this money to move. We ended up wasting a lot of money just applying for places, and then the van was taking like all of my money, literally. And it was just really hard to keep our heads above water. And so my mom was talking to one of our cousins that lives in Atlanta, and she was just like, you don't really have to stay in Virginia. Like, you know, she originally lived in Richmond too when she had moved from New York. And she was like, there's really nothing keeping you in the DMV area. Like, Luther, my dad, is back in Guyana. You know, my brother is doing his own thing. Me and my sister are grown. We're not in college. My son's young. He's not in school yet. So she was like, you really have freedom right now to just up and go somewhere, you know, and explore different areas. So she was like, why don't you try coming to Atlanta? Because there's opportunity here. You have more family here, or at least people that you know from like back home in Guyana and stuff like that. So my mom, she threw it out to us, and we always loved Atlanta. We started visiting down here like around 2005 or so. Yeah, around 2005, 2006. We started visiting family here, and we were coming often enough that we were familiar with it, and we knew we loved the atmosphere here from what we saw. Because like my mom always said, come see me and come stay with me are two different things. So in other words, vacation and living somewhere are two different things. But nevertheless, we were like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And overall, we were just thinking like, do we really want to stay in Virginia? Because it seems like God just kept removing stuff out of our lives. People that we used to, you know, associate with when we lived in Maryland, they were like gone or really distant. They didn't either just cut us off completely after we lost the house, or just distance created, like geographical distance created distance in the relationship and things like that. And so we were just like, you know, it's just us. We really don't have any connections here. We're really just on our own. So let's start considering it, because it's closed doors, closed opportunities. Nothing seems to be panning out. And it's just like we keep losing. So maybe God is leading us elsewhere. And I was never the type that wanted to like live and die in the same place. Like, you know, I always wanted to experience living elsewhere on top of that. So we were like, yeah, let's do Atlanta. Let's check it out, whatever. So then November of last year, we went to Charlotte for my birthday. That was my first time really like checking out Charlotte and staying there. And I liked the vibes there too. It's slower pace in Atlanta, but I really like it. And so I was like, well, Charlotte is an option as well. And my sister has an MBA. And so we were like, well, Charlotte's really like known for their finance. It's really like, I would say the financial capital of the South, because a lot of banks are headquartered there and stuff. And so we were like, okay, let's put Charlotte on the list too. So at this point, like around November, December 2018, we're just putting it on the table. We're like, we're either going to go to Charlotte, we're going to go to Atlanta, or worst case scenario, we're just move more to the city, like closer to Richmond, and we'll have more opportunity, hopefully. Because Spotsylvania is a really small town. There's not much going on there, and there's definitely not a lot of opportunity. It's the kind of place you go and live when you want to settle down, and you really just want to like raise your family and sail off into the sunset, or you just want to retire and just like chill out. It's not really a place you go for opportunity and to network and stuff like that. Most people don't even know it exists. They're like, spots are what? So we're researching around November, I think it was, either October or November of last year. Another cousin of ours had hit my mom up on, this is the cousin on my dad's side. He hit my mom up and he was just like, you know, why don't you guys look at coming? Because again, my mom was just kind of telling him like everything that's been going on, how we moved and it took a lot of money to move, and the van was giving out all the time and taking all our money, and we were just really like feeling God pushing us elsewhere. And he was like, well, maybe you should really look at coming to Atlanta, since your other cousin said so. You know, I think she has a point. Why don't you look into coming here? So at this point, two of our cousins are like, yeah, come to Atlanta. You got the support, this, that, whatever. And so we start the year off. We're looking. He's communicating with us around the holidays. This same cousin is like, yeah, you know, you should definitely come down and for the holidays and just mingle with people and network. And we're the type that we have to plan in advance because, like I said, we're in a season of rebuilding. So we really can't just up and go somewhere. Like, you have to give us advance notice so we can plan and make sure like the money's there and bills are paid and everything is in effect, and ready to go. And so my mom was like, well, we'll be down in Charlotte end of November for Rondell's birthday. Why don't we just try to come to Atlanta then? I think he had a conflict in his schedule or something to that effect. So that didn't pan out because we were just going to drive down from Charlotte, come here, and try to see if we could get the ball rolling. Then he wanted us to come in December. That didn't work. And we were just like, yeah, we don't really want to drive down in December because the weather and a lot of snow was and ice rain was coming from North Carolina to Virginia. So we're like, we don't really want to do that. So it just kind of went to rest. And then I think he got busy. The new year hit, business as usual, that kind of stuff. So then the new year hit, and at around February, I started thinking like, do I really want to put myself in a predicament where I'm accepting like, I guess, handouts from people, like I just don't. One thing about me is I don't really like people to hand me things and be like, oh, I'm gonna help you with this, I'm gonna help you with that, or take this, take that, because I don't want to be indebted to anybody and feel like because they gave me this or that, I have to keep doing it or keep showing up if it's a job or keep using it if it's an item, or like I just think that way. And then on top of that, I was like, I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe Atlanta might not be where God's leading us. Like I was kind of conflicted, and so we kind of were just like, okay, well, let's look at Richmond. And since we know Virginia, at least it won't be as drastic of a move. And then we could really just like, get there, settle, see how things go, and it won't be as much of a shock or as expensive. So that was pretty much the plan, and we still kind of have Charlotte in the back of our minds. And then another friend of mine had suggested maybe possibly going to like the Huntsville, Birmingham area of Alabama, because they were like, the jobs pay well there, it's up and coming, the housing is cheaper than Atlanta because they used to live in Atlanta, and they were like, you should check it out. So that was kind of in the background too, but our main focus was Richmond or Charlotte. And so we just put it at the back of our minds. Then fast forward to May, my family and I drove to Minnesota for one of my other cousins' graduation. She was getting her master's degree, and we just made it like a little mini vacation to see Mall of America and stuff and whatnot. And so while we're on the trip, we're not even thinking about like where we're gonna move to yet or anything. We're just there having a good time, eating the food, checking out the sites and everything like that. This same cousin that wanted us to come during the holiday season, he called my aunt from Guyana, because my family, like my cousin that graduated, she flew up from Jamaica for the graduation because the school has a branch in Jamaica that she attended, but the like main school is in Minnesota, in the sticks, mind you. But she flew up from Jamaica for that, and then her mom, my aunt, flew up from Guyana, and another aunt of mine flew up from Jamaica as well. And so we're all there having a good time. My cousin that wanted us to come during the holidays, he had called my aunt from Guyana and was like, oh, why isn't, your sister, my mom, and her daughters and stuff, like, why aren't they coming? I keep telling them to come to Atlanta, check it out, I'm ready to go, let's go. And he kept urging. It was like this urgency, like, you gotta come, come on, let's get it done. And so we're just like, we need advance notice. Like, if you're gonna do it, we need to plan a date. Everything needs to be set, because we cannot just up and go. Like, everything needs to be settled and ready to go. And so my aunt was like, well, I'll talk to her and see what she wants to do or whatever. So he then called my mom, and he's like, yeah, y'all should come down. We're having a graduation party, and a lot of people are going to be there. It'll be a great time to network and this, that, the third. And we're just like, you should have told us earlier, because now we done took this, almost cross-country trip to Minnesota, and I did the driving. And I was like, I am not driving to Georgia. not from Minnesota, okay? Like, driving to Minnesota tested my limits, and I love to drive. So when I say, like, I'm done driving, it's too much, because I'll drive from here to California if you give me the opportunity, but a girl's got limits. So I was like, nah, like, that can't work, not last minute like this, but maybe we could look at going in June. So he was like, yeah, that'll be perfect, you can come in June, and then we'll get this done, we'll get that done. And it was like all these plans on the table. And so we were like, okay, this is a little weird that we're just gonna up and go randomly. We don't even really know what's gonna happen. He just keeps urging us to come and keeps like harping on it, like, come, and we're just like, okay, like, we're gonna take this chance. We're gonna, detour some plans that we had for the summer, and we're just gonna spend a week in Atlanta and see why he keeps urging us to come. So come June comes around, we take the mega bus down. Terrible experience. That vlog is on my or that video is on my IGTV, but it was just terrible. I almost got left at the bus station, and the bus drivers were just really rude. It was raining. It was a little chilly too, at least from Virginia. It was just not like the best trip. I would not take megabus again, honestly, not to Atlanta. But nevertheless, we get here. Whole time I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect. The cousin hasn't really told us any details. He hasn't said like, okay, this is the plan, this is the agenda. And most of my family actually is a regimented family. We like to be able to say like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, this is the agenda, we're gonna get this done. When it comes time to do business, we're about it. Like, let's get it done, let's be detailed. And he was just kind of like, just come, So we show up in Atlanta, we get to the house, and I'm not gonna lie, we had a blast. We were turning up. We were like, hey, get it. We really didn't get to look up much as far as relocating and things along those lines. And so we did get to check out some neighborhoods. And the best thing about that week was that we found out how expensive apartments are in Atlanta. I was like, yo, these are DC, like Northwest DC prices. This isn't even like Northern Virginia, okay? Maybe some parts, but you can get an apartment in like Old Town Alexandria by the waterfront way cheaper than some of these apartments out here. And I was just shocked, and we were like, nah, this ain't gonna cut it, because the space that we need and the business plans that we have, an apartment is not gonna work. So we were like, okay, we cleared that. We know what areas we like, and we know that we need a house more likely than not, So other than that, we really didn't get much done. He did help us with some of our business ideas and stuff too, but it was just a lot of turn up, less business. Okay, like lots of turn up for days, for years, but the business part was lacking. And when the week came to an end, I really felt like we didn't get anything accomplished. I left more confused than when we came, but he kept assuring us like, yeah, we got the city on lock, we're gonna get you set up, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, whoop, whoop, whoop. And it was just like, okay, like you're saying you're gonna help us out, we just got to do our part. Now he was getting ready to go on a extended vacation with his family, and we had like my sister's birthday trip and stuff, so July was pretty much a wash. Like, we had passing conversations and we started looking at places. Charlotte was still kind of on the table just in case, but at this point we were like, well, he seems really sure. He kept assuring us like, we got you, just tell me what you're gonna do, show up when you're ready, whatever you need, I got you type stuff. Like, I'm just waiting on you just gotta show up and I'm gonna tell you what to do. And he kept saying this and reiterating it, and so we're just like, okay, I guess we can just do what he says. Mind you, when we were there in June, we sat down with him, all three of us and my son, four technically, but three adults sat down with him, and we told him what it is. We were like, look, we done been screwed over enough times in life by people. We've trusted people and they literally left us high and dry. We do not have the bandwidth in our lives at this point to take any major risks and then be left out up a creek without a paddle. So if you're going to help us, it needs to be detailed, it needs to be thorough, and you need to be honest and upfront with us. There's not much that will shock us. We're not easily shocked unless you do something or you say something so egregious where it's like, yo, that's crazy. Like, we understand if you're having issues with your family, with your money, if you done did something scandalous, like, we're the type of people where we're like, okay, it's whatever. Like, but we just ask that you be honest, because we cannot make a move accurately if you're not telling us the full story, and especially when you keep urging us to come. And so anyway, July goes through, he's on vacation, we're on vacation, all of that jazz. August comes around and we're like, okay, now we really got to get serious about like, if we're going to go to Atlanta or not. We need to really start pinpointing places, finding realtors and such and such. So we started working with we started working with two realtors. We had two kind of like just on reserve just in case, but there wasn't really much they could do until we could get down here and start looking at places. August, we weren't able to do that because my sister was resigning from her job in August to move down, and she couldn't really take any time off because she was already dealing with a lot on that job. And that was one of the reasons that led us to say, like, okay, she has to leave that job, and if she's going to leave, since we don't have any ties here, let's look at relocating, because they were putting her through the ringer, and that company put me through a lot too. But, and I'm not even going to get into all that, but, it was a lot. Like, anything you could think about that would just be a pain in your side at work and then some, they put her through that and me. And so, she couldn't leave August because she was resigning. So September, we were trying to see if we could get down, but that wasn't panning out because her payout was taking a long time to come through. And, savings that we had and stuff, we were like, do we really want to take it now and go look, or do we just want to kind of like move down and then get a house? We were getting different opinions from both realtors, and then like just some family friends that we had that were in the industry and stuff. Everybody was kind of giving us a different thing, like, nah, you shouldn't do that, you should do that, whatever. And so we come down in October. At this point, the cousin who kept urging us, he's still in and out. Like, he'll come in after weeks of not answering texts or phone calls or emails, and he'll be like, oh yeah, just let me know what you want to do, it's all good. Then he'll disappear, and you're in the middle of your plans, and then he's gone. No answer, nothing at all. And another friend of mine, the same one that used to live in Atlanta, I'm texting them like, hey, can you give me some advice on this, that, the third? They're not answering. So my cousin's not answering, the friend's not answering. We're just kind of like left up a creek, because these are the people that started moving us. These are the people that were like, yeah, you can come, we're going to help, we're going to do this, that. And then when the ball gets rolling, they're just ghosts. Like, where you at? Like, where'd you go? Why'd you leave me high and dry like this, And so we come down in October. We started looking at homes with one of the realtors, but then we also had like some of our church family that had friends down here. They apparently had a house for rent too. That didn't pan out. None of the homes panned out. We saw most of the homes that we saw, if you didn't see my house hunting vlogs, go check those out. Most of the homes we saw had serious bug issues. I'm talking huge bugs just all over the house. Some were living, some were dead, but either way, it was disturbing. And I am just the type of person, when I see a bug, it's a non-negotiable for me. I'm not even entertaining the thought of living there, because I haven't dealt with that in years, and I don't want to go back there, all right? And I ain't never seen roaches as big as here. Like, Georgia got some serious big roaches. They even got flying roaches. Like, so I was like, nah, fam, that's not it. And then if they didn't have like bug problems in the homes, they just weren't well kept, or the renovations were shoddy, like they would do part of it and not the other part and things like that. So we saw a few homes. None of them we really liked. The one we did like, we were like, okay, we'll apply to, but it had been on the market so long, and we were just like, will we get it, will we not? Because our realtor was like, well, because it's been on the market so long and it's such a nice house, I'm just gonna guess that the owners are very picky and they're looking for a particular type of tenant. And she was like, you could try, but we just gotta be ready. So she was like, if you can get a cosigner, that can better your chances. So we hit up that same cousin that was like, yeah, if you need anything, let me know. The same one that was urging us. He had mentioned in June that if we need a cosigner, like literally whatever we need, he will do. So we hit him up and we were like, hey, we saw a house we really liked. We will need a cosigner most likely to better our chances of getting it. He said it was cool, he'll do it, but then when it came down to it, like when we were actually trying to get the application in and get the paperwork done, he just was not answering. And the realtor is like, we gotta hurry up, because if you want to get an answer before you leave, and we were only there for like 5-6 days, in Atlanta, only here for 5-6 days, she was like, you're gonna have to really like speed it up. So we ended up not being able to reach him. We tried to reach him so many times through so many different avenues, no answer. And this is the pattern that kept happening with the process of us moving down here. And so eventually we're like, we're just gonna take a leap of faith, and we're just going to go ahead and put in the application. Now, mind you, while all of this is going on, the process of moving to Atlanta and everything like that, I was also going through my own spiritual warfare type stuff. So, this might give some of you the creeps, but but whenever someone in my family or really close to me is about to pass away, I know. It's like I literally wake up one morning and I just have the spirit of grief over me, and I know death is coming. I can't even really describe it. It's hard to describe, but it's like a feeling of like fear mixed with anxiety, mixed with grief and mourning, mixed with just like, it's like a premonition almost. Like, I just know someone is gonna die. And that happened to me in September while we were going back and forth with the cousin, coming in and out and trying to figure out if we're gonna stay in Virginia for a little bit longer, extend our lease for a month or two, or just take the plunge to Atlanta, whatever the case may be. So I was going through that, plus I just felt the spiritual warfare of like, I literally felt like the devil was trying to scare me out of taking a leap of faith, because while I'm going through that kind of premonition feeling and wondering which one of my family members is going to pass, I'm also battling, like, am I really hearing God? You know, because I was fasting, I was reading my word, I was praying even deeper than I usually do. And I was like, God, like, give me an answer. What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Do you want me to stay in Virginia, or do you want me to go to Atlanta? Because the people that were supposed to help us in Atlanta are disappearing, and they're not answering their phones. They're ghosts. They're leaving us hanging. So if we're going to take this plunge, we need to know that, like, you approve of this. And God just kept telling me in various ways, yes, I want you to go to Atlanta, relocate. Like, literally, I could be listening to a sermon, I could be listening to the radio, I could be talking to somebody, and those words will come out of their mouth. You just need to take the plunge and just, you know, take a chance, or you just need to take a leap of faith. Maybe God wants you to relocate. Maybe he wants you to do something different, you know. And that kept coming up literally over and over and over and over again. And even in my prayers, like, God would just put that in my spirit, like, trust me and go for it. Trust me and go for it. Virginia is not where you're supposed to be right now. Go for it. And I kept praying, even though he was saying that he would set the stage of our lives to get the glory out of it. When I tell you, you pray some prayers and God will be like, are you sure? Like, I'm telling you, I prayed that every day while I was fasting, and he gave me the confirmation to move, but like I said, everything was so over the top. So it's like the money was taking a long time to come. People that were supposed to help us and kept vouching, saying yes, they will help, disappearing. You know, our property management thankfully was gracious enough in Virginia to let us stay without charging us a whole bunch of extra money, because we ended up staying almost a whole extra month, like literally, yeah, almost a whole extra month. And they didn't charge us a whole set of money. And it was just like hit after hit after hit again. And we're just like, God, like, what are you doing? And the significance of this too is that it was a 10-year anniversary of when we lost my childhood home. So in the Bible, 10 is one of the numbers of completion. So it's like God took us through this 10-year journey to bring us back around here so that we can finish off and enter a new season. Plus, we're about to enter a new decade. So it's like a lot of significant signs happening and stuff. But nevertheless, fast forward, I got a call from my aunt in New York, excuse me, and she said that one of my cousins in Guyana passed away, unfortunately. And that right there, I knew that's why God gave me that feeling, because she was going to pass away, you know. But then I knew the spiritual warfare was also there, because it's like, me and her weren't super close, but we definitely used to talk about some things, and she used to like really just encourage me as far as my spiritual walk and things like that. So, you know, once I got that news, I was like, all right, it was her. Like, yeah, God gave me that premonition, and also he was telling me to, you know, go for it to Atlanta or whatever. And so we applied for the house, didn't hear anything for almost 2 weeks. At this point, we had to come back to Virginia to finish packing up, and then to load up the van, the U-Haul, and just drive down. I was going to drive down because money was tight, and we were like, we can't afford a moving company because they want to charge you $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and that's just not going to work. And so as I'm, like, I think the day before we were leaving Virginia, the realtor, our realtor that we were working with on that house, called me, and she was like, you know, it's looking like you guys might get the house because nobody else applied for it. It's looking pretty good in your favor. And the reason why they were taking so long to get back to you is because one of the owners was actually in the hospital. And so they're dealing with that emergency, and their realtor, the listing agent, didn't want to keep, you know, like pestering them, like, did you get the app? Did you get the app? She was trying to be respectful, but she was like, she thinks and I think that you guys are going to get the house despite, you know, credit issues or whatever the case may be, and we'll just take it from there. And if you're willing to do a 2-year lease, then you should definitely be able to get it. And so we're like, okay, great. And mind you, we still have the church friend in the background with the other home just in case. And so we're loading up the van. We're like, okay, it's like looking like a sure bet. Guys, you're really showing up and showing out. Like, you're really about to do a move out here and talk about getting the glory out of our story, right? Like, this is going to be great. And so we pack up the van, and we end up getting a U-Haul that's too small. Have to wait an extra day. So Rochelle's already like on the Greyhound heading down to Atlanta. That's my sister, by the way. And my mom and I and Christian, my son, are in Virginia. We realized the U-Haul is too small. Now we got to wait an extra day because we have to wait till U-Haul opens to get a 6x12 foot trailer. Rochelle didn't make any hotel arrangements because they figured we were going to get there, get the key, and be good to go. So now she's got to get a hotel room. And the next day I wake up, get the trailer. My mom and I load it up, and we leave out like late that night. So Saturday morning, when we're already supposed to be in Atlanta getting the keys, I'm now driving down from Virginia to go to Atlanta, and Rochelle's like booked in a hotel, wondering where we're at and freaking out. As I hit South Carolina, I get a phone call from my realtor, and I'm just like, excited. I'm like, oh, she's gonna say, we could get the keys this afternoon when we pull into Atlanta and this, at the third. And as soon as I answer the phone, I just hear her tone before she even speaks. I'm just like, God, this is not going to be good. And she was like, okay, the owners of the house only will agree to lease you the house if you agree to live there for 6 months, pay 3 months rent down as a deposit, plus pay October rent, and start paying November rent on November 1st. So right there, you're talking about $7,500 just about. And that was, and for 6 months, and then at the end of the 6 months, they'll reevaluate and see if we can stay there, or if not, they will kick us out or break the lease or whatever. So I was like, absolutely not. Like that's not gonna work. And she was like, okay, well, if they change their mind or they come around, would you be willing to work with them? I was like, no, because the way they went about that was messed up. Like, you can't tell somebody or give the impression like, oh yeah, you're gonna get the house, this and that, it's all good. And now I don't know if the owner said that or if it was just the realtors basing it on their experience, but either way, you can't give that impression. And then when someone literally has their whole life loaded up in a U-Haul and they're coming down to move, you flip the script and you're like, oh, nope, give me more money, give me this, give me that. So now we're in South Carolina. I'm pulling this big U-Haul behind me with my son and my mom in the truck, and we have no place to go. And so I tell my mom what the realtor said, and she's just like, are you serious right now? And she was a little deflated. I was beat because, mind you, like I said, the whole month of September, my anxiety was taking control of me. My fear and the death premonition, and then just like trying to hear God's voice. I was a mess. I was literally waking up every day crying, all sorts of stuff. So at this point, I'm just still kind of raw emotionally, and I'm just like, nah, this is too much. Like, why would you tell us to move here, and then this happens, God? Like, what are you doing? And so my sister, she's pissed beyond belief. And I'm just driving to Atlanta with no home. Like, we literally don't have a home. And so I pull into Atlanta. We go to the hotel my sister's staying at. I parked the U-Haul. The next day, we call two movers to come and help us offload the U-Haul into the storage unit. Excuse me. Let me get a drink of water because I'm thirsty. Off the U-Haul into the storage unit. And then I returned the U-Haul because that thing was a gas guzzler. And we're just in this hotel. So we started looking for homes. At this point, the church friend calls us and says that the person that was going to give us the place to rent had to change their mind because they weren't moving or whatever the case was. So that went out the window because now we can't stay there because they're going to be there. And now we really have no options. So we start looking around at property management homes and things like that. And again, I see roaches coming out. I see wires sticking out. It's just like the homes just aren't well kept. And so we're like, are we ever going to find a place here? So then fast forward to, like last week, we found an Airbnb and we were staying there. And the woman was really nice, really, really nice, sweet lady. We found a home that we absolutely loved looking through the property management companies, and we applied for it. But we literally got a denial in less than 24 hours. Like, I woke up Sunday morning and they were like, we can't give it to you because XYZ. This at the third. It basically boiled down to our credit. Like I had mentioned, our credit is in a stage of rebuilding, so it's not absolutely terrible, but it's not perfect either. And they just were like, no, it's not going to work. And what pissed me off about that was that the lady who is like the agent or the rep for the house, because the property management companies, they'll have like realtors that represent the homes and stuff, and they're the ones that you talk to if you need to. That rep for that house that we loved, she was like, oh yeah, if you put in the application, I should be able to like get you an approval or work something out in case, anything comes back. If you're willing to pay 2 months rent, you should be up front. You should be able to get the house because we've taken people with less credit, with worse credit, I mean. And when we hit her up and we gave her the application, denial or whatever, she was like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. And that really pissed me off. It's like, again, people don't realize that your word is your bond. Do not say that you can do this or you're going to help somebody with that, or, you've got this sort of connection or power if you really don't. Just be honest and say, like, look, what the system says is what it is. And that's how it's done here. And I didn't realize that because in Virginia, it's kind of shifting to that, but you can still find places, I should say in the whole DMV, where even if the system says no, the leasing agent or the realtor or whoever they're calling them, the rep or whatever, still has some say so to be able to say like, okay, well, the system said no, but we're going to be able to do something, work something out with you or whatever. But here in Georgia, from what I'm seeing, it's like once the computer says no, that's it. Like nobody has any power to do anything unless it's like a for rent by owner situation. And so now we're starting to look at that. We're staying in, you know, some temporary places like extended stays or Airbnbs until we figure that out. Thankfully, everywhere we've been staying so far is clean and spacious enough for us to at least like keep our heads up and, and focus on settling in. But the one thing that I really don't like about this move is the fact that, like I said, people have not been forthcoming and honest. You know, if you cannot help, be honest about that. Don't say like, oh, we're going to help you and I got the city on lock and this, that, the third. But then when it comes down to it, you're nowhere to be found, or you're just not pulling the weight that you said you would pull. If you ain't got it like that, just say you ain't got it like that. Don't lie or try to like cover it up and be like, oh yeah, you know, this came up or that came up, or just start ducking me and my family. You know, you can't do that. If you say you're gonna help someone, especially with something as big as a relocation, your word is seriously your bond. You cannot leave people up a creek like that. And it's the same thing for the houses we applied to. Don't tell somebody A and it's really B. Be forthcoming. And so, you know, this story's still being written. I ended up talking for 35 minutes. So if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. I try to be short, y'all, and I cut out a lot of detail. But just know that this story is still being written. God is not done with us yet. And I just keep hearing the confirmation now that, like, this storm is not for nothing. Like, God definitely has some major things coming up. And I can say, since I've been here, he's already been giving me exposure to people that I look up to. I was featured on Praise 102.5 radio station on Darlene McCoy's show, The Nightly Spirit. You know, randomly, they just picked my profile for their Night Rider segment. Out of so many people that submitted, they picked mine, and one of my other Instagram friends, they picked him. And, you know, I've been getting follows from people that I really admire, like pastors and influential, inspirational speakers and things like that have been following me on IG and reposting me. So God is definitely showing me that, like, he's going to set my platform higher and, like, expand my territory. But in the meantime, I'm really trying to figure out, like, what exactly is going to be the end of this. Like, are we not supposed to be in this county that we keep looking in because we're looking in Cobb County? Are we supposed to be in another county? You know, is what, like, what what is going on? But needless to say, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. And just know, like I said, if you have gone through something similar, leave me a comment below if you've ever moved and, you know, people didn't tell you what it was up front, or if you've ever had just like a really rocky kind of relocation. If you've relocated to Atlanta, comment below and let me know. Let me know if you relocated to Atlanta or if you've had a similar story like this. Or if you're going through a similar story like this, let's chat about it. Be respectful, of course, in the comments. But if nothing else, I hope you guys enjoyed this and you got something from it, and I will see you in the next video.